but Mr. Lullett is the CTO at Entitle and has been at the forefront of designing both SaaS and AI-based solutions in the industrial OEM space for decades now. He's one of those industry leaders who loves to get down in the trenches and has immense expertise in things related to the install base. Lullett has a phenomenal grip on technology and its application for machinery manufacturers. And when he is not at his work desk, you will find him posting some very interesting stuff around AI and data on LinkedIn. So with that, Lullett, over to you.
Thanks, JW. Thanks for the introduction and good morning, good evening, good afternoon to whichever part of the world you are. So today we are going to touch on this topic of install base visibility. Install base as such is usually a very important topic for any original equipment manufacturers, especially industrial OEMs who make these large equipments. And if we take a step back, everyone understands that inside that installed base, if mined correctly, lies gold. What it means is that basically, if we can understand the customer behavior, the equipment behavior that is sitting in the market, it can give us a lot of more revenue opportunities. Because once an equipment is sold, the relationship doesn't end there. The relationship continues in terms of the service needs, the parts needs, the consumable needs. And it even goes to further that when they want to replace the equipment, whom they should go to. And that is where the quality of the relationship makes a lot of difference. So with that in mind, we will look into the whole install base notion and how to make sense of it, what we can do and how we can drive actually growth out of it. So I'm sure you might be seeing a diagram on the slide right now. And this is a very common story. That's what we have seen. And this is an Achilles heel for most of the OEM. There are like so many systems, and especially with large organizations with a lot of mergers and those things going on. And even with some of these companies are like that we deal with, we have seen companies which are like 100 years old kind of thing. So they just don't have systems coming as part of mergers, but they also have a lot of legacy systems in place. We have even seen data sitting in mainframes. And then what happens is that any new thing is needed, any new initiative sometimes will land up making new systems or making new data silos. So essentially what it leads to all kind of actually integration mess as well. The data flowing from one system to another system, and then each of these data has their own peculiarities. They do become a silos with time. And this all leads to very, very non-scalable way of doing things. And it's not unusual. This is a story we have heard again and again that if they need to build even a small part of the view of customer, leave customer 360, just an aspect of the customer, it basically means a lot of manual work in terms of pulling the data from a couple of systems. Actually, even before that, figuring out where the data points are residing, then basically pull it, make sense of it, because somewhere the data that and ontology is different, the categorization is different, then someone has to make sense of it, put it together, and then some analysis can be done on that one. The only problem is that sometimes it takes so much time that by the time the results are there, they become they are not valid anymore. And why this happens? This happens because, as I have talked about, like what happens is that a lot of these efforts go. Of course, like there are certain things which are at enterprise level, like ERP choices, CRM choices. And then sometimes there are like those big divisions. Everyone has their own way of, in fact, everyone has their own take on which ERP or which CRM. Sometimes these are not driven from the headquarters basically. Again, like no one model is right or wrong, but what happens is that these all leads to so many different kind of decisions, which fundamentally leads to so many different kind of tools, and that's where leads us to this whole data mess. So before we move ahead, let's just check the state of the things within the ecosystem, within the crowd out here, all the participants who are there. So we'll just run a small poll. We'll just try to figure out like what is the state of the installed base data right now as part of your organization. So Soham, if you can help me with starting the poll. Yeah, you might see like a poll on your screen. So basically, it says that what is the state of your installed base data? Are you still mostly working on spreadsheets, or the situation is that they are into multiple ERP CRM systems, or you have some sort of MDM or some sort of master data management notion in place so that you can reach to one system and get the complete 360 view? And going further, there is a MDM, there is a single unified source, and there is also an analytics layer on top of it, so that more insights can be derived out of it, which can help in revenue growth. Okay. Okay, so I think this is actually very interesting and not, I would say, not different from what we have seen. We see 25% mostly on spreadsheets and 75% on in multiple systems. And this is what is the state of the thing right now. There is like, it's what we see day in and day out with our customer base as well. So before we move ahead, this is what we have seen. And this is what some of the, like Gartner and all also have verified that what they see. We have seen typically 7 to 12 systems. Again, like based on the size of the OEMs, it can vary a lot. But we have seen generally 7 to 12 system kind of things. And usually the productivity loss, because one of the fundamental reasons is that someone has to collect this data together, make sense of it, unify it before anything useful can be done with the data. And the other problem is that even if this unification happens, there is still a lot of data quality issues that still lingers on. And then to do anything, you have to reach out to more than one people. So this all, if you see, take a step back, what it all leads to, it all leads to a very, very highly unscalable system. And the guarantee of it being accurate, being precise is also very, very low. What's the solution? And that's what we will get into. We will try to figure out that how that situation can be solved. So, okay, what we want to do, right? What is the ideal situation? The ideal situation is that if we can have a single source of truth, what it means is that a system of records, mass MDM, we can go it, we can give it a different names, but basically there is a single place to go, which has all the data unified together, clean, duplicate, deduplicated, enriched, everything, and it is available to all stakeholders. And not just that, there are insights, there are analytics, there is AI layer on top of it, which is helping to create those predictive, prescriptive insights. And what happens is that when this data is centralized, it also helps in collaborations. And what the end result? The end result is that we are able to serve the customer the best possible way. And going further, this is where the growth lies. So, and that's where we talk about this whole install base visibility and why it is important. And if you really look into that, it's not just about one part of the organization that gets help from it. It's not just the sales team. It's not just the marketing team. In fact, if that data is clean, we have seen in our customer base, people have used it to get insight right in pricing, in inventory. So all sorts of functions start getting help out of this clean data. So the question comes up, how should we get to this bit? So the most usual way, I think again here, I would say there's nothing different from what a typical, if anyone has little bit gone through this data cleaning exercise, it's not very typical about what someone has to do. And this thing people do at, what we have seen is that to do some limited insights, they do these things in a very, very manual way. But again, it cannot be done at a scale when it is done in manual way. But essentially what you do is that if you look on the left-hand side of the things, you have a set of systems. You take that all data together and profile it to understand the nature of the data. And then you take it through a path of cleaning it, which would mean cleaning, mapping, enriching, deduplicating, and then unifying and stitching it together. So you can actually bring the whole data into a unified data model. And then once it is there, the magic happens. You now have a single source of truth. So this is a technical view of the thing. If we look from the business perspective, what essentially is happening is that you are bringing all the data into place. Here, again, like this is a typical thing. If you go through any data unification exercise, the philosophy remains same, but being we are more focused on the install based data. But essentially what would happen is that you will start getting a very, very clean and unified picture of all your customer addresses, equipment, parts, service contracts, warranties, order history, service history, whatever makes sense to understand that customer, whatever makes sense to when we say that this is our customer 360. And once that is in place, then whatever you do, like about AI or all kind of analytics, that start becoming possible. And because the data that is coming on the left-hand side is very, very clean, the quality of the results automatically becomes much better. They are accurate, they are precise. So that's where, and then they help in taking what you call a data-driven decision. And how now typically this is done? So again, we have seen models like we have seen many companies trying it the DIY way. And what happens is that basically you on the left, again, like it's left to right, if you see, you will again, it will essentially go through the same exercise of acquiring the data, cleaning, and then you run some analytics engine. But in the DIY, what happens is that you have to now basically put a team, a different kind of tools, and then it takes a lot of resources and time. And that's where this usually becomes a very, very costly exercise. And it's again, we actually, it's very interesting that we have seen in our customer base, we have some customers actually who has taken this approach and they did it for a year and year plus kind of thing. And then they realize that this is not a very scalable way of doing things. And then we have worked with them and we are able to do it at a very, very high scale. And why we are able to do it, actually, let me tell a small story here. Actually, when Entitle started almost 10 years back, initially we thought that we will just focus on the AI part, analytics part of the things. What we wanted to do is that we will get the data from our customers, and we have our all this purpose-built algorithm to find the patterns in the buying behavior so that we can predict and prescribe that what kind of parts a certain customer would be needing, what is the propensity to buy, and all those things. But what we realize is that the data we are getting is very, very bad. So what we decided on that, unless we don't take control of the data story, we will never be able to have a very predictable story on the analytics side of the things. And that's where we started investing a lot on this part of the equation as well. And that's where we have our own, like this installed base data studio. What essentially does is that, like, again, the same steps, you profile, you clean, you duplicate, you basically then unify it together, and then you get a very clean set of installed base data. I'm just putting one screenshot here just to give an idea of the things. This is basically a complete low code. It's a no code platform. What we do is that we basically, once we go through the initial exercise, we capture it as part of recipes. And then whenever new data sets come in, the data pipeline automatically run those recipes. And this really helps us in doing the data cleaning at scale. And once that is done, then what happens is that this is available into our, what we call as the front end. So we have a front end, both mobile and that one. So I'll give a small view of that one, that once you are able to get through this exercise and you have a mechanism in place to slice and dice this data, it can really help in doing a lot of powerful data-driven customer research. Let me just switch gear a little bit. I'll go to, so this is how, once you have done that one, if you see here, this is now all the installed base. If you see here, there are like equipments and locations. It is one of our demo account, but you can now start going inside that one. And you can see that where all your customers are. If I just click here, it can even tell me like this place, how many equipments, parts, and all those things are there. And then what I can do is that now I can, for example, I want to go to a location called QNX Communication. And so QNX, we have a notion of account and location. What it means is that, so for example, General Motors have 10 plants. So General Motor would be an account and each plant would become a location. So I can go to Laplace location out here. And here, if you can see that it is telling me that at this location, what is the behavior of that customer along the years. And you see here, it is telling me that there are 4 equipment. So I can see all the list of equipment. In fact, I can go to every equipment and can see the edges bomb, the service bombs sitting against this equipment. And then there are again like details, what we talked about, like we can see the part list, the services, service contracts, what's the status of them, warranties, contracts, and then this is an interesting thing, opportunities. So what we also do is that we basically look into this whole purchasing patterns of the past order history, not of just this customer, but across the customer base. And then we do some sort of, there's like those models that we have built on which we can figure out the behavior of the whole cohorts inside that customer. And we can then benchmark the best ones. And there is an opportunity where we know that the laggards can be taken up to the level where the benchmark customer is sick. And then this is interesting that now if you really see what is happening here is that the whole 360 view of that customer is available at your fingertip. And you can as well, if I go back to the my map, if you see here, there's a lot of filters. You can really, for example, if I just want to know that, show me the equipments which are like 5 to 10 years old kind of thing. So it will just filter and show me those equipment. So that's kind of what slice and dicing is possible, so that you can really define your pipelines in terms of, so for example, if you know that certain equipments of age, let's say uh, older than 10 years, 10 to 15 years kind of thing, can be upgraded or some sort of that thing. Those all things start becoming very, very easy. But having said that, I think we always hear that not another tool. And that's where what we are doing is that we are soon very launching where, okay, let me take a step back. Actually, this whole architecture is also very open architecture. We have all open APIs and everything in place. Customers do connect to our open APIs and take this data back through into their system. But what we are also going to do is that we are going to launch it as a Salesforce app. We know that like lots of our industrial OEMs that we work with, a majority of our customers are actually in Salesforce. So what we have done is that if you remember here, if I go to the same QNX Laplace location, so we were able to see the basically the 360 view of the that location. So if you see this 360 view here, this 360 view is now would be available right inside the Salesforce. How does it help? Now imagine that a salesperson is now researching an account, and they have the complete history of that account available here in the click of a button. They can see what all equipment that customer has, what all parts, services. Again, the same thing that I just talked about. It's exactly a replica of the same thing, but it is available right in the context of the workflow that a salesperson is running when he is doing or researching to find the opportunities within that. So yeah, I guess that's what I wanted to cover today, the whole notion of installed base visibility and how we can achieve it from the data cleaning part of the thing, taking it through the whole data pipeline, bringing it to a point that it is available to the not just sales team but across the organization to take very, very rich data driven decisions. Yeah, JW, I think that's where probably we can stop here, and we can see that if there are any questions, we can take that.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you, Lalit. Appreciate it. And we did get a couple questions. The first one, you mentioned about a data mess in early slides.
Yeah.
What exactly are the services you offer?
Okay, so we are basically what we called as we have installed base intelligence platform. So what we do is that we take care of this whole entire pipeline. We just so for our customers, they just have to give us their data, and then we take care of everything. We will take it, we will figure out. Of course, like we need your help in terms of understanding the domain, because you people are the domain expert. You will tell us that like certain categorization or how the product hierarchy should be made, what are the classifications. But once basically that is in place, we just take it through everything, we run it through our pipeline, and we build it in such a way that it just remains scalable. Next time things come up, it just runs automatically. The data is cleaned. It is now available on Insights, is available in CRM. It is available through open APIs. You can integrate with your own systems. And then we have analytics, all these algorithms built on top of that one that will start giving the opportunities, the predictive opportunities, the prescriptive opportunities. We also tell about propensities, customer health, and all those things. What it does is that it basically arms you with all the relevant data points to basically, when you are talking to a customer, you know exactly what are the points that you should leverage to basically when you are engaging.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. The next question, if the wrong data was ingested initially, can we export those wrong information and update with correct information?
Yes,
Re-ingest?
absolutely. This is we do it on day-to-day basis, and then we know that sometimes it takes time to get it right. And we have an iterative process. It's not like once done and those kind of things. The data pipeline is very flexible, and we always constantly look for opportunities to fix data. We have a lot of mechanism in place, and in fact, going further, we also like we work with a notion of a very I would say that a little bit high touch kind of thing. So we have experts whom we call as a customer success manager, who understand the aftermarket very well, who understand the data part of the story very well, and they work very constantly in terms of making sure that data is of clean and very high quality.
Perfect. Couple more. Next one, if we implement Entitle, what is the implementation time and learning curve for our team?
Okay, so two-part question. The first part is implementation time. depends on the size of the things, but typically we have done like implementation within, I would say, 8 to 12 weeks kind of thing. That's where people start seeing their results on this. They are able to access their data. They can start even making pipelines, size and tries the data, and those kind of things. General, what was the second part of the question?
Second part is what is the learning curve for our
Okay.
team?
So if you see, the UI is pretty intuitive, and it's not like it will just leave you. There is a very high touch engagement that happens, where our CSMs will make sure that your team understands how to use the tool, how to make pipelines. There are constant touch points. There are periodic meetings, not just in the initial days, but throughout the engagement period as well, so that we make sure that you are leveraging the tool the best possible way. But otherwise, the tool is very, very intuitive. If you understand, if I think any salesperson understands this whole customer 360 behavior, if you just look from that perspective, the tool is very easy to navigate. Yeah.
Awesome. Good. Okay. One more. Is your solution compatible with Salesforce? Why do I need it if I already have Salesforce?
Okay. So interesting question. So the thing with Salesforce is that it doesn't have data. It has the data model, but it doesn't have data. And that's the piece that we fix. We bring all data together. So for our customers, it's not unusual. Sometimes we bring 10, 20 years of data. So remember, so like one of our bigger customers, they have chillers. The chillers has life of 25 or sometimes 30 years kind of thing. So what we have done is we have brought actually the whole 30 years of data here, and we have cleaned it together. We now know the 30-year history of every customer location. We know that against that chiller, what all has happened, what are all the different chillers against that location. This is where the power lies. So Salesforce and these tools, they provide a good data model, but someone has to fill that data, and that's where Entitle comes into picture. We will take all your data, put it together, unify it, stitch it, and will give you that data access so that you can take very high quality data driven. Hopefully, JW, I think that answers the question.
I think it definitely does. There was another one came in, though you kind of just touched on it. How does Entitle give visibility to our install-based data? Is it a UI tool? And then if yes, is it only on top of Salesforce?
No. Entitle, in essence, is the installed base data. Or the core of Entitle is about building that data. You can call it MDM or what sort of that thing. But essentially, what we do is that we will take all the data in our platform, we'll take it through that whole data cleaning exercise. We have built all those tools that helps us in doing that in a very, very scalable way. That's where, like, if you see our implementation cycle are usually like 8 to 12 weeks kind of thing. Of course, like if you are talking about very huge install base, when I say huge, it's like 100,000, 150,000 kind of locations kind of thing, and bringing their 30-year history. But otherwise, usually 8 to 12 weeks, customers are up and running with us. We bring this data, we will put it together, we'll give it the context, we will enrich it, we will deduplicate it, and then that is available through our insights tool, which I just showed. So if I can just go back to that one. Yeah, so if this tool through which you can access it, and this tool, we don't have like a per user license kind of thing. We just work on a subscription model where everyone possible in the organization can access to that one. That's the flexibility we give. But we also know that many of the sales organization want it in the context of Salesforce. There are other part of the organization which need it in the context of their tools. So in those cases, there are integrations available. The data is available through open API, so people make it available there. But yes, through this tool, you can now access this whole data. People can come here, research it, or they can directly see it in the context of their Salesforce work. So hopefully that answers the question, Jay.
I think so. There was a follow-up to that, which is only master data or along with ERP transfer data.
Once again, only?
It says only master data or along with ERPs.
Oh, okay. You can give us ERP data, give us CRM data, give your spreadsheets, give your mainframe data, give your service FSM tools data. We use, there are some implementation, we take data from 8 to 10 systems. There are like, we also take data from ticketing systems and all those kind of things. So give us all kind of data. More data, better for us, because then algorithms run at scale. The richer the rich the data set is, is usually the quality of the algorithm also becomes much better. So not limited to any one system or anything. Give us data from wherever you are to whatever quality it is, and we will make sense of it. We will unify it, and we will bring it together, and we will put it in a canonical data model, which is like the industry purpose-built industrial data model for the installed base, where we will host this data.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. We are coming just up on time, folks. Well, thank you so much for the content and going through those questions for the attendees here. Any closing remarks?
No, I just want to say thanks. Thanks everyone to spending their time last 30 minutes with us and seeing what we are doing. And we hope to talk to you some as well in the future.
Excellent.
Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you for your time,
And
folks.
yeah, have a nice day or wherever you are. Good night.
See you on the next event.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.